Okay, so in this video, this is not a Steely Dan tune. I'm going to talk about where chords come from, and I'm going to use the major scale to explain all this. And in particular, if you just look at this diagram on the screen here, I'm going to start with just a C major scale. There's 7 notes in a major scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and then it starts over again. Instead of using those names, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, we're going to use numbers. 1 through 7, and in some cases we're gonna go past 7 to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, so that we can get 9s, 11s, and 13s. Those are called extensions. But anyhow, for what we're going to talk about right now, we're going to use this scale right here. Okay, now I want to show you something here. If you look at this, this is low down on the neck, the first 3 frets. And then the next position up covers this area, and then it moves up again here, and then moves up to here, and then here. 1, 2, 3, there's 5 positions. So this is kind of based on, it's a major scale, but it's really based on the pentatonic scale. And those 5 forms cover the entire neck, and then it starts over again. Okay, so we're going to start with this lower one here, and we're going to talk about where chords come from. So the first type of chord, the most basic chord that we're going to talk about is a triad. So this is a major scale. I've just laid it out here. Now, if you're, I'm going to just demonstrate. I'm going to put my fingers on this. That's going to be 1. It's a G note, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to follow this diagram. So a major scale starts out with a whole step, and then another whole step, and then a half step, and then a whole step, whole step, whole step, and then another half step. So the half steps are between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8, or 7 and 1, which would be the octave of the lowest one. Okay? So this is what a scale sounds like. This is 1, okay? Now I'm going to just play through a scale. So whole step, there's the half step, and then 3 whole steps, and then another half step. Okay, so that should sound familiar. Well, what if we could start that on any note on the guitar? Let's just take this now. I'm just taking a random note here. That's E. Okay, now we're going to play the scale. See. Okay, so we have a whole step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And then 3 whole steps, and then a half step. Okay, so now let's look back at our diagram here. So if we start with the first note of the scale, and we jump every other note, we go 1, 3, 5. That's just a basic triad. So let's look at this scale right here. The ones in red here, that's the root. So this is a C scale. The 1s are C. So I'm just going to demonstrate how to play this on the guitar. So here's 1, and I'm going to just play through the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So it starts over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then if we want to keep going, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. So the low E is really the 3rd of the C scale, okay? So now what we're going to do is I'm just going to use my program here, and since we want to work with just a triad, I'm going to start taking some of these notes out. We only want to keep the 1s, 3s, and 5s. So let's get rid of everything that's not a 1, 3, or a 5. And actually, we'll use this note as our lowest note. That's C. So we're going to get rid of everything below that, just to make this a little more understandable. Okay, now we're going to get rid of anything that's not a 1, 3, or 5. Well, there's a 2. Let's get rid of that. How about a 4? We're going to get rid of that. 6, we don't need that. 7, we're going to get rid of that. And 4, get rid of that. Then we're going to get rid of this 5 right here. because we don't need it. Okay, here's a 2. All right. So now what you're left with, these are all the 1s, 3s, and 5s. You see that? That's a basic C chord. So it looks like this. Okay, so now when it's good to learn these numbers. Now it's important to learn the names of each note on the neck of the guitar, but it's equally as important to know the numbers because that's going to come in handy later on when you're trying to figure out what to name a chord. So this just has 1, 3s, and 5 in it. So this is basically a C triad. Even though we're playing more notes, we're playing 5 notes. We're doubling up on the 1s. Here's a 1 here and a 1 here, and a 3 and a 3. And there's 1 5. So okay. So now let's move on to the next pattern down here. So now that's a basic triad. So that's a 3-note chord. Now, so what if we want to do use a 4-note chord? Okay, and I'm going to just show you something. If you just keep this triad the same, and then these 4 notes right here. So this is the highest one. So if you just play 1, 3, 5, and then play that, we just played that chord. Okay, it's this one. But now, what if we get rid of this one and use the 7 instead? So we got 1, 3, 5, and 7. Or 1, 3, 5, and then this note in between. See, there's a whole step between 6 and 7. So there's a note right here. We're going to call that flat 7. So we got 1, 7, flat 7, 6. So we can use this triad and add one of these notes to make a different colored chord. So let's take 1, 3, 5, and 7. So let's go to the next diagram here. Let's get rid of everything that's not a 1, 3, 5, or 7. Let's just get rid of these lower notes here. And I'm trying to make this, there we go. Get rid of that. We'll get rid of the open notes first. We're going to keep the 5 because we want that. And actually, we're going to keep the 7 and we're going to keep this 3. So we're going to get rid of this 1 here because the 7 and the 1 are on the same string. So we get rid of that. And we're going to get rid of this 2. We'll get rid of this 5. I'll explain this later why we're getting rid of this. And we're going to get rid of the 4 and the 6. Okay. So this is what we have. This 1, 3, 5, 7, 3. And by the way, as you name these, like if somebody said, what's the voicing of that chord? Well, you say 1, 3, 5, 7, 3. And that's the order in which you're playing them on the guitar. So this is what that chord looks like. So if we're going to play just a regular C chord like we did first, okay, now we're going to play a C major 7. Just take your finger off. And now we have C major 7. Okay? Okay, now let's go back up to our diagram here. Okay, we did 1, 3, 5, and 7. Now let's do the flat 7. Okay, so where is that flat 7 anyhow? Well, let's look down here. Here's a 7 right here. That's an open note. So this note B on the G string is right here. So that would be 7 right here. Let's just put it on here. So that's a 7. But if we were to get rid of that note, if we want to flat that, we're going to put it here. There's a flat 7, right? Okay, but it's on the same string as the 5. So the reason I'm showing you this is because, you can create all kinds of different, patterns of chords. So let's go back up here. 1, 3, 5, and flat 7. So we're going to get rid of everything that's not a 1, 3, 5, or flat 7. Okay, so let's just start with this E string here. We're going to get rid of the 4. We'll get rid of this 5 again. This 2. We're going to get rid of this 1. And actually, we're going to put the 1 back in here. And we're going to get rid of this 7 because we're using the flat 7. So we put this 1 back on here because we don't have any other notes on here that we're using other than the 1. We're going to keep this 5. Well, actually, we can't keep that 5 because the flat 7 is there, right? So we're going to get rid of the 5, get rid of that 5, and then we're going to get rid of the 6. We're going to get rid of the 4. We'll keep the 3. Get rid of this 2. We'll get, and then everything below this 1. Let's just get rid of all these. Okay. Okay. Now let's get rid of that. Okay. Now this note here, it's going to be hard to have that because your index finger is probably going to mute this string here. So the voicing of this chord is 1, 3, flat 7, 1. So this is called a C, 1, 3, 5, flat 7. This is called a C dominant 7th chord, or just C7. C with the number 7, and this is how you play it. So you got the 1, the flat 7, the 3, and the 1. Okay. Now, and you can leave that open note there, the 3 on the E string. That works as well. So far we've got C, C major 7, C7. Okay, now the next note is going to be the 6. We're going to add 1, 3, 5, and 6. You notice that we're using this triad in all of these chords, and we're just adding this 4th note for color. Okay, so we're going to get rid of anything that's not a 1, 3, 5, or 6. So let's go down here. We can keep that 3. We don't want a 2. We need to get rid of the 7. We're going to keep that 1 here. Let's get rid of all these. See, we don't need that. Okay, that's a 6, but we're going to get rid of everything below this 1, okay? Just to keep this simple. Get rid of this 4. Okay, now the 6 and this 5 are on the same string, but we really want the 6. Okay, so guess what? We don't have a 5 now. We have 1, 3, 6, 1, 3. That's the nature of the guitar. Sometimes you have to leave out a note in order to accommodate the color note. So we're leaving out the 5 in this case, and so we've got 1, 3, 6, 1. So we've got 2 1s, and we actually have 2 3s. Or you could just play these inside notes, just these 4 notes here. Okay, and so this is what this sounds like. This is what it looks like. Here's the 1, 6, 3, and 1. Okay, now I'm going to play this whole thing. I'm going to start with C, and then C major 7, and then C7, dominant 7, and C6. Okay, now, there's been a ton of tunes that were written with this chord progression. However, you don't have to always play this progression. You can use a 6th chord or a 7th or whatever. It depends on the tune. But this is something in the way, see, something in the way she moves. Da, 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 da. Okay? So, you've heard this progression a lot on a lot of tunes, a lot of popular songs. And so, okay, so this is the first position. We're just going to cover these 2 in this video. And then if you want, okay, so now the next thing that we can do is we can add a 9, 11, or a 13 to any of these combinations up here. So the 9, 11, and 13 generally are going to be used with this flat 7. Well, actually, they'll be used with a major 7 too. So the 9s, 11s, and 13s, those are called extensions, and they'll be used either with a 7th or a dominant 7th generally. Let's just try one here. Let's just do a C. Let's do a C. We'll use a C major 7 with a 9 in it. Okay. Let's see if we can pull that off. So we want 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. So one thing you have to remember. Okay, you notice how this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then up here it starts over. So you just have to remember that A 9 is a 2, an 11 is a 4, and a 13 is a 6. So we're going to get rid of everything that's not, okay, we're going to do 1, 3, 5, and we're going to use 7 and 9. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So just, okay, let's just deal with the 2s right away. We're going to keep this 2 because that's a 9. That's one of the ones we want. So we're going to get rid of this 5, this 4, and we're going to, remember, we're going to do a major 7. So we're going to keep this. Okay, now we've run into a little problem here. They made this 7th and this 9th are on the same string. So it's going to be hard to play a C major 7, 9. So is there another 2 that we could use? Right here. Let's just, okay, we got to get rid of the 3 and the 4. Let's just do it. Okay, and we're going to get rid of the 6th. So we have 1. Let's get rid of everything below, like we did before. Keep this 3. All right, so we've got this 2. So that's a 9. We'll get rid of this one. So we have 1, and then we have 9. Here's a 5. So we're doing a major 7. So we want to get rid of this 1 here. Look at all these open notes. So we have 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. And this is what this sounds like. Okay, that's a nice chord. So another way of playing this, I'm just going to go through a couple of C major 9th chords just so you can see what they sound like. See, they all have a little different texture to them. So hopefully you're getting the idea of how important it is to remember these numbers and where they are in each one of these positions. And we've only been dealing with this position down that's close to the neck, just the first 3 frets, and with all the open notes. So in the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the minor versions of this. And we'll talk about that in the next video. So anyhow, thanks for watching. Hopefully you got something. I kind of just muddled. This is the first video I've done on this kind of thing. And thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.